From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that little subscribe button right there. Click the bell and the like button. The bell gives you a notification every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right. Before we get into it, like Sil said, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment, please. We want to hear your thoughts wherever you get your podcast audio version. Also on fox8live.com, you can catch the video version. And also the Final Word feature on the Final Play app. You know, we come up with these topics. We talk about these topics. I'm happy to do it. But if there's something specific that is out there that I think is worthy of a podcast topic, I'll do it based off of your questions alone. So be sure to send that in. I'm back to work. I had a weird scheduling quirk. I didn't take any time off. I just happened to have off Saturday, Sunday last week, and then Monday, Tuesday this week because of the LSU and Omaha kind of crazy scheduling thing. So I ended up having 4 days off in a row. So I ended up with a mini vacation. Now, the flip side of that is I work now until LSU comes home. So this is the way it goes at this time of year. But nonetheless, we have not forgotten about the Overtime Podcast. We have not forgotten about Saints topics. We have not forgotten about the passion and the what's going to be a pretty critical time of year. They're in summer vacation. They're in summer break right now. It's a very important part of the calendar because they must unplug. They have to do some certain things to get their minds right, take some vacation, take some relaxation, but also stay in shape. Also, do what you have to do so you come back in late July, you're not the guy off to the side that can't handle the New Orleans, Southeast Louisiana, late July, August, suffocating heat and or rainy days as well. That's certainly something that we all must get used to here. So, in saying that, what are we talking about today? Well, I lead off like this. Macro versus micro. Macro, big picture. Micro, finite, intricate details. We discussed last week macro. This organization feels as good as they've felt in a really, really, really long time. You can tell from Dennis Allen's speech to the media afterwards, or press conference with the media afterwards, how he felt like it was an outstanding offseason, and it really was. It really was. And I say that with temperament that I know you're not supposed to go too far with what you see in June, but it was a solid offseason workout program. We know the biggest reason for organizational confidence. The guy that wears number 4 is the reason. Derek Carr. We've already discussed this. We're not going to get into that today. But macro, big picture, the New Orleans Saints feel like they are in a good place. And when you have the macro comfort or confidence, you can now hone in on the micro. The finite, the intricate details that go into weaving a team together, that go about putting the puzzle pieces together. And there's a lot of different divisions within a football team, a lot of different sub areas and packages and position groups and players and talent and matchups and all those things. It's one of the most, if not the most intricate sport there is, because there are so many moving pieces that must come together.
There's a reason they call it the ultimate team sport.
That's it. You're 1,000% right. It is the ultimate team sport because it is. That's just the truth. And at the essence of it all, with where the Saints currently stand, is competition. Competition is what helps you settle those micro details. And today we're going to talk about the 3 biggest competitions as they sit right here. Minicamp closed, looking ahead to training camp. We will talk about the 3 biggest competitions heading into training camp, according to what I've been able to witness over the last couple of weeks watching this team off-season-wise and what they currently have on the roster. One competition is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal because I'm not sure there's a front runner. I'm not sure who the organization wants. I'm not sure about it. And that's what makes it fun. There's another competition where it's pretty clear who the organization wants to win, but we don't know yet. And there's another competition no one's talking about, that no one is talking about, that I think is a pretty big deal. So we are going to get into that today, Sil. So I think this could be a pretty good podcast if you're really into kind of the subtle details,
the minutia
that go into, my word, the the decisions that go into making a roster. And really, you can talk big picture, but the details that go into it are really what separates good, average from good, good from great, great from elite. So let's get started, shall we?
Let's do it. All right, so let's start in one of those kind of mixed bag competitions where we got some young guys and we got some veterans. Let's start in the secondary.
To me, this is competition number one because these are two very talented guys, very young, but both very hungry, and both have proven they can get on the field and play. I'm talking about cornerback 2, opposite of Marshawn Lattimore, the battle that will ensue between Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor. This is iron sharpens iron. They rotated first-team reps. Adebo wasn't at the entire offseason program. They rotated reps during minicamp. I'll be very curious to see how they rotate it once training camp begins. Again, iron sharpens iron. Young. There's no clear front runner here. The Saints are doing their best to get Alontae Taylor on the field. That's why they are trying him at nickel. I just don't know if he's going to advance enough in that spot to take over that spot and be there where you trust him over a veteran like Bradley Roby. So right now, I think it's Adebo versus Taylor for the outside cornerback position. Certainly felt like Adebo might have had the upper hand, given the way last year went, given the way, he's been a starter since a rookie, basically. But, Taylor was here the entire offseason. I know they like Taylor. He's scrappy. He's confident. So is Paulson Adebo. So this is going to be a great competition. Because I don't have a feeling one way or the other which way that the organization feels in terms of who they feel like is going to win. I think this is a true, genuine competition. What can win this competition? Well, a lot of things. Mm-hmm. A lot of things can win the competition. Who do you feel better with against certain matchups? Can they play man? Can they play zone? Do they understand match coverage? Do they make plays? Whatever. But to me, the guy that can consistently show or can consistently turn what is a PBU into an INT, whoever shows that, to me, they deserve to be on the field because there's been a lot of opportunities left on the field because a pass breakup should have been an interception. So if either one of these guys can consistently show when they get their hands on a pass, it's a turnover instead of a batted pass, that's a game-changing play.
I mean, it's tough because they're both different styles of cornerback. Adebo, more physical, plays closer to the line and press and everything like that. And Taylor he's faster, quicker, understands route running a little bit better, I feel like. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a wrong way to tackle it, pun not intended, but I think you have to see who, you're right, has the better ball skills, has the better nose for the ball, and who just works better opposite of Marshawn Lattimore. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, look, when Marshawn was out last year, Alontae got on the field. I thought he took advantage of his opportunities, and not just from a coverage standpoint, I thought he was pretty fearless when it came to stopping the run.
Absolutely.
Sticking his head in there, making a tackle, which is not always easy to do for a guy he's not huge. He's long, but he's not big. So maybe that factors into it as well. But I think that's going to be a good competition. Whoever wins that competition will have earned it. But I also think both these guys are going to get on the field some kind of way. They're practicing a lot of dime stuff, 6 DBs. They're all going to get on the field. But that, to me, is competition number one going into training camp.
Speaking of earning a starting job, Trevor Penning and the offensive line. I know we're going to discuss that is our next competition there. Trevor Penning versus James Hurst.
That's the one. Trevor Penning versus James Hurst is very important. It's very important because on the surface, it's obvious who they want to win.
Yeah.
Who should win.
The guy they spent the first round pick on.
Who they drafted to win. Yeah. Okay? It's Trevor Penning. That's the guy they drafted to take over at the left tackle position. They could have parted ways with James Hurst in the offseason. They chose not to do so. They kept him around.
Good move.
So to me, this is still one of those things where while they may want Trevor Penning and they may give him every opportunity to, he still has to do it because they understand this. With the way this roster is currently constructed and the organizational belief, again, macro, that this team is going to win the NFC South or should win the NFC South, you cannot have a vulnerability at the left tackle spot.
Yeah.
He's got to prove he is ready. He hasn't proven he is ready because he has not been healthy. And the only way we really know where he's at is once he gets healthy, barrier one, then he has to show he has improved from last year to this year. And I thought he showed some tangible improvement in the games as the season went on in certain areas. I mean, he is a mauler when it comes to run blocking. If he gets his hands on you, God bless that defender, because he is going to block through the whistle. But viral
ground.
blocks is not all it is when it comes to playing left tackle in the NFL. My fear with him is he's got a little bit of heavy feet.
I was about to
when
say
he's got to
that.
get lateral, he's got to get a guy that's coming off the edge, a very fast defensive end, and when he comes off the edge and he opens up and he hits him with that speed to power stuff, can he handle it? We don't know where he's at in that regard because he hasn't been healthy.
Yeah.
So if you're the Saints, while you want Trevor Penning to be the starter, and maybe you pencil him in as the starter, it's not proven yet because James Hurst is a guy that can be solid at that position. He's going to be great. But you at least trust him to be competent
He's
enough
steady.
to protect Derek Carr's blind side, and there's a reason they didn't part ways with him. So I believe Penning and Hurst is a battle worth watching because if Penning is not ready to go in training camp, and they said he will be, but you never know. Let's just say for the sake of this argument, he is ready. Who gets the first team reps? We don't know yet. That's something to really watch.
Yeah, it is. And
The pads come on. That's the great equalizer.
the real contact begins to happen. And we remember what happened last training camp when Trevor Penning threw on the pads for the first time and went head to head against Peyton Turner.
Oh yeah. He got tossed out of practice a couple times. Maybe he got tossed once, but it was a couple of scuffles happening.
That could honestly be the X factor is who has that more hard-nosed mentality, who can go out there and be the mauler that you say, who has the mean streak, and if he can stay healthy, if he can work on his footwork a little bit, I think he's just your guy to give the offense the edge you've been missing in addition to the Derek Carr's leadership.
And they do want a little bit more they've changed that identity a little bit to a little more of a physical, tough, sort of rugged identity in certain areas. I think he certainly fits that mold. He's huge. I mean, the way he makes certain offensive linemen look small and defensive linemen look small, he is huge. But he's got 2 injuries in 1 year. He's got to prove he can get healthy and stay healthy. If not, it could be James Hurst. So that's something to really watch going forward because I still think they want the kid to start. But to me, you can't just hand him the job.
No.
You can't just hand him the job. So that's the next competition. It is Trevor Penning versus James Hurst.
And on the flip side, staying in the trenches, though, we're going to talk about the guys that are going to be competing with that offensive line during training camp. And I'm assuming that this is going to be more of an interior defensive line competition, of course, with Brian Brzee, with Kalen Saunders, with and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. It escapes me at this current point.
Contraire, my friend. Contraire. As much as I do think that's going to be a great competition, it didn't make my top 3.
Ooh.
And you kind of just proved my point. This is the battle no one's talking about. I'm not talking about defensive tackle. I'm talking about defensive end opposite of Cam Jordan. No one is talking about this. Why is no one talking about this? We have been discussing, who can you pair with opposite Cam Jordan? I feel like for the entirety of his career, they have never been able to stabilize this position opposite of Cam Jordan, despite multiple draft picks and free agents and everything. They have never been able to truly solidify the guy opposite of Cam Jordan. They wanted it to be Davenport. He showed flashes, never could stay healthy. I remember even a guy like Alex Okafor, who I thought was pretty competent in the year or two he was here. But they've always wanted this, and they've never been able to firmly have this player. And the truth is, I don't even know where to start in this competition because you have Peyton Turner, who has not done much. You have Carl Granderson, who was the undrafted guy who has really kind of forced his way into the conversation. And you have rookie Isaiah Foskey. Will they add more to this group? I think it's a possibility. I think they could add a veteran to this group. I really do.
It wouldn't surprise me.
That competition is just not being discussed. And it's a premier position. And it's a position before this year, we've talked about this all the time. when it comes to opposite of Cam Jordan. And really, it's the entirety of the defensive line other than Cam Jordan. To me, it's the biggest unknown, which translates to me the biggest concern going forward. The thing that has to move forward and come together is that defensive line. But to me, is Turner motivated? Okay, if you're not motivated now, you're never going to get motivated.
No.
You were drafted a couple of years ago. You were demoted last year at some point. They drafted another kid to play that position. If you're not motivated now, when are you going to get motivated? So I think on the surface, he should be the winner. But recent history suggests otherwise. Carl Granderson, you can't ignore the progress he made from a season ago. From a guy that really had to find his way weight-wise, find his way system-wise. He has really grown into a nice player, and you know what you get from him.
But that's the problem. You know what you're going to get from him.
So there is a floor versus ceiling debate there, but I think they told us without telling us last year who they preferred towards the end of last year. I mean, Peyton Turner was a healthy scratch by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they drafted Isaiah Falsky.
I'm high on him.
I love him. The second-round pick out of Notre Dame. They like him for a reason. He was a guy, the second I saw his highlight tape, I was like, that's a Saints guy. I mean, productive, got great size, got great length, high character guy. They're going to love him because they don't grow on trees that size at that position with that length and that production. And he's a guy that checked all those boxes. I believe he was getting mostly second-team reps in the offseason. Again, it's hard to really gravitate to the defensive line during OTAs and minicamp. It's not real.
Same problem with the offensive line.
Exactly. It's not real. It's much easier to talk about the things on the perimeter, on the edge.
Where the ball is.
I do think this is the battle, probably the most under-discussed battle, which could end up being the most intriguing because it's unlike the cornerback battle. You have a couple guys that are pretty proven. Like, both those guys can do it. Whoever wins will have truly been the best. You have three unproven guys at the defensive end, in Falsky, Granderson, and obviously Peyton Turner. So that, to me, is the battle no one is talking about that really should ascend to one of the top competitions of training camp as the entire defensive line. I kind of threw you for a curveball there because you thought we're going D-tackle.
I did.
And I do think that's going to be a good competition because I think the faster Brzee gets into the starting lineup, I think that's a great sign for where he's at in his development. But I think defensive line, defensive end, something to watch going forward. And then obviously that left tackle and, of course, that second cornerback opposite Marshawn Lattimore. So that's where, as we wrapped up the offseason and look ahead, we got a couple weeks out, we'll probably refresh these as we get closer to training camp. To me, those are the three biggest competitions at Saints camp.
All right. You guys heard it here. Secondary, offensive line, defensive line, primarily on the edge there. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You guys can find us wherever you listen to and now watch your podcast. Hit the little bell notification there if you're watching on YouTube. You get notified whenever we upload a video. For Sean Fazan, I'm Vasilios. This has been the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. Catch you guys next time.